Hello YouTube, this is Captain Nav. I hope you are all doing well. Welcome to this PMDG 777 startup tutorial. This tutorial is a bit of a continuation from the previously released Cold and Dark tutorial. So at this stage the aircraft is all set up, the FMC is ready, and all we need to do is finish the pre-flight procedure. Of course, this is a two-pilot aircraft, but I will do all the checklists and flows and procedures as a single pilot. So as I said, we need to finish the pre-flight procedure. So all we have to do basically now is do the pre-flight checklist. So we'll press the checklist button and read the checklist. The oxygen is tested 100%. Flight instruments heading 025, altimeter 2992. We checked the two altimeters plus the standby altimeter, and that's the pre-flight checklist complete. So we'll now display the door synoptics just to have awareness of the status of the doors. As you can see, we've got a few doors open at the moment. After that, we'll just check that the APU is now on and running. So you can see the APU is on, and if we checked on the ICAS, we can see the memo message here, APU running. So we have ground electrics provided at the moment, so we can disconnect the ground power, and the APU is now taking over the electrics. Next step is to go to the ground connections here and remove all the ground connections. This is obviously a simulation feature, not in the real aircraft, of course. This will be done by the ground personnel. So as you can see, we still have a few doors open. So basically the next thing is to close the last door, the L1 door, and then arm all the doors, which we would do possibly during the push as well, but here for the purpose of the tutorial we'll do it while we are still on stand. It's a little bit easier for the sequence. And then move on to the cargo doors and close all the cargo doors as well. Once this is done, we can go back to the door synoptic, have a look. It takes a little bit of time for the cargo doors to close, but eventually they will, of course. A little bit of patience is required. The forward and aft cargo doors are quite big doors, so it takes a little bit of time for them to close. They are now all closed, so the next step is to ask ground personnel for clearance to pressurize hydraulics and basically configure the aircraft for the push. We will now move on to the overhead panel and pressurize the hydraulics. So the right electric demand pump comes to the auto position, and we'll wait for the full light to extinguish. Then the C1 and the C2 electric primary pumps comes to the on position, and the left electric demand pumps along with the C1 and C2 air demand pumps come to the auto position, and we'll wait for all the lights to extinguish at the bottom here. Fuel pumps are switched on as required depending on the fuel load, and then we'll move down to the display select panel, press the recall switch, read engine shutdown TCAS off, which is expected, so we can cancel that. Display the before start checklist, and then move down to the center pedestal. Make sure we have 121.5 active on the right radio, the transponder to a TA array on the ground. Make sure data is displayed in the center radio and the cockpit door is locked. After we've done all this, we'll make sure that the trim is set for takeoff. So we'll look at the takeoff ref page, note the trim setting, and then set the trim accordingly. Before start checklist: flight deck door closed and locked. MCP V2172 heading 045, altitude 5000 feet. Takeoff speeds V1162, rotate 166, V2172. CDU pre-flight completed. Trim. So for the trim we need to check that the trim setting is correct. So we'll have a look, 5.25 units, and then we look at the aileron trim on the control column, 0, and then the rudder trim, 0. Taxi and takeoff briefing completed, and holding the checklist at beacon. So now we can ask for the start clearance and switch the beacon on. That's the before start checklist complete. Once ATC gives us clearance to push and start, we'll contact the ground crew and initiate the pushback. So I'll use Ground Services X and the simulation here. It's quite a good tool. It's fairly realistic, and although the phraseology is not always 100% correct, it's good enough for the simulation here. So we'll try to find the engineer down there. I'm not sure where he is. Anyway, it doesn't really matter if we can't see him. It's not that important. So we are ready for pushback as well. Parking brake is set and ready for the push anytime. So as I said, the phraseology here is not always 100% correct, but it's good enough.
Live has been inserted. Release parking brake.
Parking brake released.
All engines clear. Start at will.
And now we can start the push. So we will go through the engine start procedure. We will tell the ground crew we'll start engine number 2 and then number 1. So we'll start number 2 first, the start selector to start, and then the fuel control switch to run. The engine starts automatically, and 2 is increasing first, following by oil pressure, and then N1, as you can see. And as we reach approximately 32-33% N2, the fuel is automatically brought in, and the start sequence is fully initiated. At the same time, we can keep an eye on the engine parameters. We don't want hot start or hung start. We want to make sure that the engine start is good, and the engine start sequence will be finished once the red light on the GT gauge here disappears. And then it's the same sequence for the left engine, start selector to start, and once again the fuel control switch to run. And we'll go through the same process, watch the gauges for N2 increasing first, then oil pressure, and eventually N1. The GT increases as well. We can look outside, keep an eye on the push. We're not going towards a building or something. And as for the right engine, monitor the start. We'll have a look outside as well at the engine, which is quite good fun. So it's perfectly fine to start the engines, obviously, during the push. Then we'll move on to the before taxi procedure. The APU comes off. We'll check the engine anti-ice as needed. We don't need it, so we'll leave it on auto. Press the recall switch, nothing there, and then display the before taxi checklist. It's a fairly long push, so we just wait now for the push to be complete, and then we can continue with our procedures. So nothing to do at this stage. We're just waiting for the push to be finished. We can start seeing the line now we are being pushed onto. So that's all good. All we need to do is wait.
Set parking brakes.
Parking brake set. You are clear to disconnect the tow bar and the bypass pin. Advise when clear. So more or less that's the phraseology we would use with the ground crew, and it will get back to us at some point advising that the bypass pin has been removed and the tow bar has been removed as well, and that all equipment is clear. And once we've got the all clear with the bypass pin in particular, then we can continue with the required flows.
Bypass pin removed.
So the bypass pin is removed. We look at the flap setting required and set flaps to 5, which is our takeoff flaps today. And then we'll check the flight controls. So down, up, left, and right, very gentle. And then also check the rudder.
Is clear.
At the same time, he's telling us that everything is clear outside, so that's all good. We'll just double check that we can see the tug, we can see the tow bar there, it's going away. And then we look at the engineer as well, and normally he waves at us with the pin, so we can see the pin and wave him goodbye. And at this stage we are all dispatched. And all we need to do is the before taxi checklist. So anti-ice is auto, and recall checked, flight control checked, ground equipment clear. It's the before taxi checklist complete. And that's about it. At this stage we're now ready to taxi. That's the end of the startup tutorial. So I hope you found the video informative and useful. And if you liked it, then please give me a thumbs up. And if you have any questions, do not hesitate to leave them in the comment section. Like always, if you like the channel and you want to get more out of it, I invite you to subscribe. And you can also follow me on Twitch for live flights, and have a look at the Facebook page as well from time to time for some channel updates. So until next time, take care, enjoy your simulator. Hope you get something out of this video, and I wish you well, and I'll see you soon.